Eta orain, ekin diezaiogun gure gaurko gonbidatuaren aurkezpenari. Antonio Cea es el director de innovación de Adidas Fútbol. Su equipo se centra en la innovación de productos futbolísticos de 3 a 5 años vista, así como en construir la visión, la plataforma y la estrategia para dirigir el deporte en el futuro. Antonio se dedica a la innovación impulsada desde el consumidor y su visión de cómo el deporte puede cambiar la vida de las personas. Su carrera en Adidas abarca más de 18 años y 3 continentes. Posee un perfil único y diverso, tras haber trabajado en marketing deportivo, desarrollo de productos y abastecimiento, comercialización global de productos, lanzamiento al mercado e innovación. Él es, además de dar forma al fútbol, él es miembro del Consejo de America Scores, una organización sin ánimo de lucro con sede en Estados Unidos que utiliza el fútbol, la poesía y el aprendizaje a través del servicio para influir positivamente en la vida de los niños. Antonio viene a hablarnos hoy de un producto inteligente, el balón del Mundial de Fútbol. Este balón es fruto del trabajo de I+D desarrollado durante más de 2 años y medio por la multinacional alemana. Ha sido preevaluado por la NASA y también testado por más de 600 futbolistas, entre ellos Leo Messi, Dani Alves, Iker Casillas o Zidane. Los resultados de esta investigación han sido además publicados en Scientific Reports por investigadores de la Universidad de Tsukuba en Japón. I really think we are all willing to hear Mr. Cea's speech. So now I would like to invite our much-awaited chief guest, Antonio Cea, onto the stage. Please.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yeah? Everyone up there? There's a lot of people here. Thank you very much for inviting me to your conference, first time in Bilbao. It's a beautiful city. I wish I could stay longer and spend more time. I was fortunate to have a tour of San Mames today. You're very lucky. What a fantastic stadium. I'm sad that I couldn't come one day earlier and see the game, but most important is that you won. Good luck for the rest of the season. So I have 20 minutes. I will try very hard not to go over those 20 minutes. I want to show to you today a peek, a glimpse into the life that I lead in Adidas, how we create the future of football. And the Brazuca, the World Cup ball for 2014, it was an amazing product. It was a lot of fun to work on. It maybe gave me some gray hairs, but I think everyone that saw the World Cup saw a fantastic event with a fantastic product. I will go through this quickly. I know we have questions at the end. Please, I'm open for any questions, especially afterwards as well. I love to talk about the products. They're all my babies, and I'm willing to answer any question, however good or bad it is. So, many of you maybe not know about Adidas or Adidasler, and I went to school in America. My university, I played football, soccer. I played football at my university, and we were sponsored by Adidas. As a kid, I grew up with Nike. You're an American, you grew up with Nike. It's inevitable. But Adidas, as a football player, I was a very strange kid because I didn't play basketball or baseball or American football. I only played football. And when I learned that there was a guy named Adidasler and he made shoes for players, I was amazed. I said, okay, I need to learn more about this company. So I learned more about it and I realized that it was the football company. And in the end, I said, why couldn't I work for a company like this? Why couldn't I work in football and make it my life? So Adidas's mantra, and Adidasler talked about only the best for the athlete, helping athletes become better. And that's the mantra for us, for Adidas. We work every day to try to help athletes become better. Yes, A 15-year-old kid wants a cool shoe. He wants it to look good. He wants to impress the girl. He wants to be the most popular in school. But at the end of the day, they want to play better. They want to be the best that they can. They want to learn as much as they can. So we create products to help athletes. And we always say only the best for the athlete. He had a mantra. And his mantra, and we use it today, was listen, test, modify. Adidas was the original maker. He was the original creator. And he worked directly with athletes, whether it was Muhammad Ali or Franz Beckenbauer or Jesse Owens. And he made products directly for them. And we at Adidas do that every day. We work with athletes every day. Amateurs all the way to professionals. And it's what we live for. And his mantra was listen, test, modify. And that means listen to the athletes, hear what they have to say when they're testing their products, modify that, and continue to test. So it's a continuous loop that we always use to get to the best for the athlete. And we literally listen to the things that they say. There are very funny stories about things that we changed along the way. And when we started the World Cup ball process in 2009, we said, maybe we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Innovation is absolutely about creating something new, creating something that changes people's lives, creating new experiences. But we also have to look at what works. Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. And it's also about taking things that already exist and putting them together in new ways. We had two balls on the marketplace, the Champions League ball as well as the Euro ball from 2012 that we had started making much earlier that were very successful. The constructions worked. So we said, let's listen to the players. The players love these balls. Let's use this as the foundation to create the World Cup ball. Let's not start from the very, very beginning just yet in this time. And what we created was, and I'm getting very technical here, is we looked at every part of the ball. We looked at the outside. We looked at the inside. We looked at how it was constructed, all the things that were important. And one thing that we wanted to do is look at the shape of the panel. Many footballs that you've seen have 32 panels. And we said, all right, we want one panel with one shape. Why did we want to do that? What was the innovation around that? We wanted simplicity. We wanted a product that players would love, that they would want to pick up. And a panel shape like that had never been done before, had never been seen before. So we said, all right, let's investigate this. We also had to make sure the ball performed the right way. It had to fly the right way. We had to make sure that that panel shape delivered the best aerodynamics. And when you're talking about footballs, you're like, oh my God, we're talking about aerodynamics. Yes, we test them in aerodynamics tunnels. We work with universities around the world. And we've had, especially people from NASA say, making airplane wings is easy, making footballs is difficult. So we had a challenge on our hands. So we went through many iterations of shapes, of what would fit together, what would work. And we came upon this propeller shape that we ended up using. And it also had a bit of organic to it. Now I'm going to get a bit woo-woo. All the technical guys in the room are going to roll their eyes. But when you see something that's aesthetically beautiful, it can perform at the highest levels, but it has to look good. It has to be a beautiful product. It has to look cool. It has to feel good. So when we came upon this shape and we were able to mathematically work out how that panel shape would fit together, we felt we had the right direction on our hands. So we started moving down this direction. Now the next thing we do is testing, as I told you. And this is Robin van Persie. We've tested this over 2.5 years, over and over again in a million different ways. And these are the 4 buckets that we use for testing. FIFA, we were a long-time partner with FIFA. We have a contract with them until 2030. All the FIFA balls have to fulfill very specific guidelines. So throughout the innovation process, we had to continue to test. We had to continue to make sure that all our balls fulfilled all these criteria. This is really boring stuff, but FIFA makes you fulfill this. So things like weight and water absorption. And if anybody that remembered playing with a leather football and it was raining outside, when the ball would absorb water and you had to head the ball, it was terrible. So we had to come up with a new process to glue the panels to the ball so they would have the lowest water absorption possible. We have 0.2% water absorption. So the ball is exactly the same from the first minute to the 90th minute. We also do additional tests like durability, out of balance, stiffness, cold rebound. We do a ton of things. We even exceed all the tests. We want to make sure we test it in every possible environment, in every country, in every climate, to make sure that everyone loves the ball, if that was the goal, if that was the innovation goal that we wanted to have. The next was our wind tunnel testing. Now, I'm not going to explain that stuff up there. Some of you may know what that is. But essentially, it's trying to make sure the ball flies the right way. When it curves, when it dips, that it has a predictable flight. And we had to make sure that Brazuca performed exactly as any professional player in the world would expect it to perform. And through the panel shape that created that unique geometry, that created a unique aerodynamics, it allowed us to create one of the best balls that we've ever created. That was also very close to the balls that were already existing in the market and that players loved. So we knew we were onto something. Then we go into objective performance. This is a robotic kicking leg that we created in conjunction with Loughborough University in the UK. If I'm a player and I need to test the ball, and how do you test it? You kick it over and over and over again. Well, you can't kick every ball exactly the same way. So we had to create a robot to essentially do that for us. We can kick the same ball 100 times in the same spot exactly the same way. And it allowed us to have to prove that we had the most consistent speed, that we had the most accurate ball, so the smallest deviation, and that we measure the flight path. We also have in our lab, which we like to call the Bat Cave, we have radar in there as well. So radar technology that actually comes from the missile industry, but that also is used to track golf balls. So we track all the flight paths of our ball to make sure that they fly exactly the right way. The most important, though, is perception testing. We test, as you heard, with over 600 players over 2.5 years, multiple countries, multiple ways. So we wanted to make sure that players would love this ball. Now, throughout that process, the most important thing was, this is where the refinement and the innovation also came into play. Because I was speaking to some gentlemen prior to this, and they're saying, what can you do with a football? I mean, come on, it's round, it has panels on it, you draw some funny pictures on it, and everybody loves it. You sell 1 million of them. Well, in reality, all those elements, the material, the texture, the foam, all the foundation of the ball, we had to innovate around all of that. We created a new process to laminate the bladder, the rubber bladder that holds the air. We refined the foam. We listened to players. Players can tell you if the smallest changes in a ball, they can tell you how it feels, if they like it, if they don't like it. So we had to continue to refine over 2.5 years to get just the right density. We had multiple footballs as well that had textures in in fractions of millimeters that we tested, so that you could play equally with the ball in wet conditions as well as dry conditions. We tested at the club level, individual players, short term, in secret. It was used in many training sessions, all climates, different countries. Of course, we had to test it in Brazil, particularly in June and July. We had to make sure that this ball would be loved by all players. Particularly, we used it in the Under-20 World Cup and in friendlies across the world as well. A lot of players never even knew that they were using the ball. We would just put the original design and roll it into training or give it to them for a game or an event, and they would play with that ball. And the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. So this is an example of a much softer innovation that we had done. Now, we did it around the panel shape and creating a seam geometry that allowed us to have a simple ball, a beautiful design, as many of you can see, something that's never been seen before. This is actually the replica. It doesn't actually have the panel shape. We refined the innovation process over a 2.5-year period to make sure that players loved the feel of the ball. People thought I was crazy because I would say to people in my department, I want a player to pick this ball up and absolutely say they love it. I want them to walk across the room and pick that up. That's very hard to do. It's very hard to get someone to do that. Professional players, 15, 16, 17-year-old players are fickle. They're very hard to please. Things have to feel good. They have to look good. So throughout this process, we were able to do that. And the feedback, and again, you can't get everybody to love the ball, that it was reliable, that it was fair, that it was consistent, that it was accurate. We sold over 14 million balls as well, so that's not too bad. I think we were able to create love of the ball as well in that way. And to sum up in the end, we said it was perfect for all conditions. It was our most tested ball. And in the end, the naming of the ball itself, we had a social media contest in Brazil for the Brazilian population to vote on what the name was to be. And they voted on Brazuca. So a new way to come up with a name for a ball. We also created the design of the ball using stars from the Brazilian flag, as well as echoing their World Cup wins. Vibrant colors that came from the culture of Brazil. And then lastly, the design itself was inspired by the wish bands that many Brazilians wear for luck, for fame, for love, whatever that is. It's a very ubiquitous symbol within Brazil. So we echoed that design in the design of the ball, this banded look as well. So we built a lot into the ball that you would say, okay, maybe that's not all very high-level engineering, technical innovation, but it created love of the ball. And in the end, we also did build in a ton of that technical innovation through the panel shape, through the material. And over a 4-year process, we're able to deliver a product that players truly loved. Now that was quick, I admit. There's a lot in there, but I wanted to show you all the stuff that we go through to create one ball. And that was an innovation from a technical level as well as a soft innovation level, as we call it. Now the smart ball, which I'll show you now, was something completely different. This one took almost 8 years. And you heard it already. Digital is a future trend. It's a macro trend. It's something that we all want to capitalize on. We know the physical sport world and the digital sport world will converge. These two pictures that's reality. That's what concerts look like today. It's amazing how things have changed. Football players are no different. They want to show off. They want to take pictures of themselves. Mobile is very, very important. Many sports are very digital and technologically savvy already. Look at tennis, look at Formula One. Aussie rules is also very progressive in that way. Cricket is very progressive in that way. American football. Football is one of those sports that has held on and not introduced technology in a big way. And we know that the leaders of sport also want to keep the human element in football, and that's great. That's wonderful. We want to do that. But we know that we can't ignore this trend. So we said, how can we bring this into football, and how can we also solve problems? So we started with an idea, and we had to go through all of these stages from user experience, we focused on design, engineering, manufacturing. How do you manufacture a smart ball? How do you manufacture thousands of them? What facilities do you need to do? How do you test them? So all new ways of creating a product. And it all started from this. In 2005, we created a ball that had a chip inside. And we wanted to introduce that ball at the World Cup in Germany in 2006 for a goal line technology solution. We wanted to help the football world know when the ball crossed the line. And then FIFA said, we don't want it. Don't ask me why, I don't know why, but they didn't want it. So we said, okay, what do we do with this? We've put a chip in a ball, it didn't exist before, that's great. So we started to then do consumer research. And our consumer research led us to understand that there are many, many kids around the world. There are 270 million football players in the world. And there are only 38 million registered football players that play with clubs, official. The rest of those football players play wherever they want. They can play on a team, but they don't want to make the time commitment. They don't want to pay the money. Sometimes they play street football. Sometimes they play 11 against 11, 5 against 5, 3 against 3. Sometimes kids go out and they just kick the ball around. But what we noticed was kids need coaching. And when you're playing unregistered football, you oftentimes don't have a coach. And if we're the brand that helps athletes get better, how do we innovate around that? We have this really cool technology that we created. We figured out how to put a chip in a ball. How do we use that to help solve a problem in the market? And that's what innovation is, frankly. So we went through all sorts of failures. We did a lot of things. The chip didn't work, and the way we attached it inside the ball didn't work, and how we had to put it in the ball didn't work, and we failed a lot of times. We failed for 3 years. And that was part of the innovation process, and part of the process that we were totally okay with. We knew we had a vision, and we knew we had to figure out how to get this thing into the ball, how to make it work, how to make it repeatable, and how to deliver an experience. Another failed product. And this is what we've got to. So here's the ball. That's what's inside. So that sensor package is suspended in the center of the ball through Kevlar cables. We had to invent a completely new process to build these Kevlar cables to attach them to the sensors, to then attach them to the ball so that the sensors stayed directly in the center every time you kick the ball. We had a lot of really smart people working on this project, and as I said, it took 3 years to figure that out, to finally come up with a way that it worked. But as we were doing that, we had to come up with the experience. And a smart ball needed a smartphone to tell you how you kicked the ball and what you did and what you can do better. So we had to storyboard, we had to create the story of what the smart ball could do for you, how you could learn how to play better, what it would look like. So we went out with all of these different images to kids. We spoke to them again and again. They told us what they liked, what they didn't like. It was 1-player, 2-player, different challenges, games. We tried many different things to really understand what would kids want, why. We can make this ball, it's amazing. Why would they want this? Why would you pay money for this? So then we got farther and we storyboarded this area right here. We said, okay, you can learn how to drive the ball or bend the ball or chip the ball. Kids said, I don't care about that. I don't care about chipping the ball. I never do that. I don't care. Yeah, I want to learn how to bend the ball, but maybe I'm not the guy that takes those free kicks. Okay, drive the ball, that sounds interesting, but I want to learn how to kick a knuckleball. A knuckleball is when you kick it and there's no spin and it moves in the air like this and the goalie has no chance how to stop it. It's a very specific type of kick, very difficult to learn. And we were like, okay, so let's go to all the coaches in the world that we work with and ask them, teach us how to kick a knuckleball. And they said, we don't know how. We were hoping you could teach us how to kick a knuckleball. So we were like, oh, no. So one of the designers on here worked with players, worked with coaches, went on, I think he spent 100 hours on YouTube, and taught himself how to kick a knuckleball. And then built the story of how to kick a knuckleball, piece by piece, every single piece. It didn't exist. It doesn't exist in the world right now. Now, if you have the time, you can learn how to do that. So then what do? Of course, we went out and we tested it with players. And you can see in some of the early ones, the kids got the phone so close to the ball because the prototypes were so bad that you had to hold the phone almost on the ball to get the data out. The little charger that we had was a paper cup with some electronics attached to it. It was really funny in the beginning, and we were just trying things, and we were failing on a lot, but we were making progress. And kids were telling us what they liked, what worked, what didn't. And over time, they loved this product, but it had a lot of bugs in it. We had to work it out. So what the sensors actually do, what we created is a learning machine. So the more you kick the ball, the algorithms within the firmware on the electronics package, it knows what kicks you're making. So when you kick that ball, it recognizes that path. It uses the math and the physics that we put in there that we then had to test because we did 10,000 kicks and shows you exactly what you did with the use of the sensor inside, the accelerometer. And we went through many different types of sensors. We failed many times on that as well. We found out that you can't use a pressure sensor because of the force of your kick. We used different accelerometers, which didn't work because of other things. We used some other sensors that we realized the noise in the ground. So we were learning all throughout this process. And then we had to work with professional players. We had to create videos to show kids this is what it looks like. We spent hours and hours with players, and even those players then would tell us how to refine it, how to change the little things within the ball that allowed it to give us the feedback that we needed. And it's translated into 12 languages so that we could go global with it. Now, you would think a smart ball, it's the most technological ball you've ever created. That's what it looks like to produce. Really unsexy, unfortunately. But this is the world of manufacturing. We had to teach ourselves how to manufacture this product, how to work on the line, how to test all this stuff. This guy right here, he's testing the air pressure of the bladders by just putting them in a bucket of water. Very high tech. That's, yeah, not proud of that, but it works. Sometimes the best solutions are the simplest solutions. And in the end, we had no way to test any of these products. We had to invent and create all the testing machinery to teach the factory how to test all of these balls. And we weren't making one or two, we were making thousands. And in the end, we launched it in June. We've sold about 85,000 of them. They're pretty expensive. They're $299. But it's a completely new product in the market. It helps a player get better. That's what we wanted to do. That was the goal. It also allows you to challenge your friends or to challenge professionals. You connect it to your smartphone, and you can go out there and learn how to be a better football player. And if I go back to the mantra of Adidas and Adidasler, that's all we wanted to do. But it took 8 years to create that product, a lot of failures, a lot of risk-taking, and funny because the project never even started in that direction in the first place. So from an innovation standpoint, we went through a lot of different directions. We learned a lot about what to do and what not to do, and we've created something that no one knew that they actually needed, and no one knew they needed a smartphone at one point in their life, and we're hoping to continue to deliver products and experiences like this that we know kids will want and that they'll fall in love with. I think I hit 20 minutes. I don't know. Thank you.